Okay, so well, let's get started then. I'm just going to say, okay, I'm Charles Heimlich from the National UFO Association, also known as NUFOA. We have a website at NUFOA.com as well as our Facebook on NUFOA. So on the phone I have Kim, and Kim is in the area of the Lake Erie, which has a lot of phenomenon going on there as well. So Kim, last night you sent me a couple of pictures with a UFO as well as what you call ice circles, which is interesting. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. It was the winter of February 17th of 2013. When I lived in Sandusky at the time, and I was a regular down there because I fished down there almost every day. But I would go down there to relax, and on this particular day, I noticed icicles, which I'd never ever seen before. And it's not like they were in a current, which would keep the water moving, but it was in different places, and they were perfect circles all over the bay. So I snapped about 5 pictures, and I only kept one, and I kept it on my cell phone, which was an old slide phone at the time, and I didn't think much of it, and I downloaded it later, like a year later, and that's when I noticed what I showed you, as well as others, that's in the picture. Now, mind you, I'm computer illiterate completely. I can barely... My kids laugh at me because I can barely use the remote control for the TV.
Right. Okay.
No joke. I'm serious about that. I mean, I'm old school. I'm still writing on paper while everybody's on computers.
Right.
But
okay.
anyhow, I put the picture up and I noticed it, and I kind of noticed actually two. So I was already in a couple of UFO groups, so I kind of sent that over and put that in the group to see what anybody thought about it. And I had one guy that said that what he was going to do was enhance it. Well, he got back with me the next day. Come to find out there was possible of 10. And he flagged them. And miraculously, I had to have him send me that picture like 3 times, and each time I put it on my computer, each time it would be gone.
Wow.
I don't know. Yeah. But, and I sent it to MUFON twice, and they told me that it was just a water droplet. Well, I'm going to tell you, like I told you last night, I don't have too much to do with MUFON for the simple fact, when you can, just like I told them, when you can put windows around a damn water droplet, I'll kiss your ass.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, so did you actually see this UFO a couple of times as well, or was that one of the first times you've actually seen that one?
Man, in fact, I didn't see it at all.
You didn't even see it, that's right.
It was not visibly seen at all at the time. It had to have been cloaked. Because if that was the fact, I would have not even thought about those damn icicles, because they would have been still there. I would have been taking more pictures of the craft.
Okay, right. That explains that. Excellent. All right, so we're gonna definitely look into that, and we'll take that. We'll carry that forward. Also, now you also mentioned that you were an abductee. So can you elaborate on that? Tell us a little bit about that, and do you know what kind of entities were involved in that? We like to call them as NHIs, non-human intelligence, at this point. So instead of ETs. So do you know who they were? Did you communicate, and what kind of things happened to you?
Well, actually, this goes back a lot further than just the pictures. It goes back to my first time ever seeing anything was like I was going to explain to you, was when I was like 3 or 4. I seen like a robot-like thing in the window. Nobody else seen it, and I don't know why, but they were facing the window as I was watching TV. But I was little, and I seen it, and I remembered it, but I didn't say anything, and I don't know why. But I didn't know what it was. It wasn't until years later, when I got older and robot toys were coming out, that I connected the two.
Okay.
But it was, and then I seen my first craft when I was like 14.
Okay.
And that was big. I mean, I can identify everything there. But as far as my first abduction, I don't know exactly when my first abduction was. I know that I can still see everything as far as the beings.
Okay. And what did they look like?
They weren't the small grays, and I don't want to even call them grays, but that's the only thing that I can kind of refer them. I can explain them as to looking like. But they're taller. They're like a 5 foot.
Okay.
And I think they just like us. I think they're getting a bad rap because I believe that there's more than one kind.
Correct.
And I could be wrong on exactly what they are by calling them grays because there could be a different species, and I don't know, but that's my referral as to my best explanation of what they look like.
Okay.
But they were benevolent. I mean, they were not negative at all. I can't say that I had a negative experience other than when I seen somebody next to me that I knew. Let's put it like that.
Okay.
And that's when I become very, very upset and agitated, but it doesn't matter because, I mean, they were still calming and everything's telepathic. Even when you're trying to scream or trying to cry, it's going to be all in your head because there's nothing verbal, there's no verbal sounds at all. Everything is telepathic.
So that Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I could actually still feel the tears coming down my face when I'm crying and screaming at them, and they're, calming me down, telling me that this person's not being hurt. They're just examining it. And I was on the examining table, but that was the first I ever have any recall of any kind of examination, but I don't even recall myself being examined ever.
Okay. And what did they tell you who they were, where they were from, and what they were doing, and the reason of them being here? And are they interdimensional or from another planet?
They are interdimensional. I think that's just known. I just think that I think all beings are interdimensional.
Okay.
I really and truly do. There's information they don't just sit there like a one-on-one, like we're having a conversation now and explain things to you. It's just like you know things.
Okay.
It's like a knowing. They're here because it's like sometimes it feels like I'm being fed information, and this is the only way that I know anything because I'm just going to come out and say that I wouldn't be as smart as I am if it wasn't for the information coming through.
Okay.
Because it's not like you can read this information. It's not like I could. It's not like I could live somebody's life. It's just they're here to. They're going to repopulate. Let's put it like that. They're using us as tools for repopulating, not only probably to, I want to say repopulate the Earth at some point, as well as other planets, but it's not like, it's just hard to explain.
Well, are you saying that they're using us as hybrids to continue their race? Is that what you're saying?
Not just their race, others as well. They're not the only ones that's here. There's some that's never left this planet that was here long before we were.
Okay.
And
who are they?
This is way different subject than what I believe that you really wanted to hear. and this is just my own. This is just things that just make sense to me, and that has been kind of passed down to me somehow.
Right.
That the Bible is not as we know it.
Okay.
The Bible is not as what has been perceived, and this is why so much of it's been removed, because the scholars at the time did not know how to explain the truth.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
And if you really look at the Bible and you really start breaking it down, and I'm going to be the first one to tell you I've never read the Bible all the way through. I've read bits and pieces because of trying to go to different churches to get the truth, and none of them have it. But the way that I explain things to people, and people can take it for what it's worth. I'm not trying to get anybody to believe as I do. I'm not trying to get anybody to believe anything. But I believe that the Bible is a history of the alien civilizations that lived here prior to us.
Okay.
The reason I say that simply is because if you look into the Bible, that humans don't live over 500 to 1,000 years old.
Right.
In the Bible, they were still giving birth at over 100 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You can't look at somebody and turn somebody into a pillar of stone or a pillar of salt. You can only do that by a laser or whatever. Vaporization, I guess, would be the best way I could describe it. By vaporizing them.
Right.
To destroy a city or a town or a country at the rate that they did, at the destruction that was done, according to the Bible, that had to have been nuclear. And that would also account for why they found so much fused glass. Sand turns to glass after so much heat is applied.
Absolutely. You're right.
So, and that would, right then, it tells you, and it's been more than one time that it's happened. Right. You don't have all of these, everything is like a circle. Everything interconnects. Everything that we know interconnects, and that's including the pyramids. Everything, because the pyramids are not just in Egypt. You have pyramids, the shape of pyramids all over. And what does that tell you? That race or them species that know how to build those were not just Egyptians. These are beings from other places.
Yeah.
Well, and they've been found on, the moon or the Mars as well. Right.
They're everywhere.
Right.
They're under the ocean. They're in every country.
Exactly. That was my next point too.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know how many continents have been put underwater because of nuclear warfare, and that's exactly where we get our own technology. And if our if NASA was as advanced as they really claim, then we wouldn't be still doing rocket launches. That's prehistoric. That's been since the get-go.
Right.
We would be using, if we're able to re-engineer a spacecraft, then we would be using that. We can't. The best they can do is rebuild the shell. They cannot re-engineer a whole spacecraft and use it. Impossible, and if it was possible, they would have been doing it and using it to go a lot further than what they are now. They're still doing rocket launches. They want to talk about the greenhouse effect. What about all of that? What about what's going on up there in Alaska?
Mm-hmm.
We could go on and on about all kinds of different subjects, and it all circles to the same thing.
Yeah, it does.
I know I kind of got off base, but
no, that's okay. That's fine.
Everything is full circle.
Well,
everything reconnects.
That's correct. And the next interview, I definitely would like to talk more about the biblical stuff, because that's a big one. And but at this time, can you tell me more about your personal dealings with the beings, and what kind of things have you learned from them?
Well, I learned. Well, I'm just going to put it out there right now that I've had miscarriages that can't even be accounted for. I've actually seen one of my own hybrids there on the craft that she was shown to me.
Wow.
I automatically knew, yeah. So, I mean, I've lost 5 children, two of which cannot be accounted for, because when I went to the doctor, there was no sign of ever being pregnant.
Wow.
Yes. A lot of people won't come out and admit that. Like I said, I don't have anything to hide.
Yeah. Well, that's hard. It's tough and hard to do that. So I give you a lot of credit for that. It's difficult to deal with. So then they had no. Did you already? Have you seen a doctor before that those things happened to know that you were in that state?
I don't know. I really didn't know. It would be, and each time it seemed to be like within 3.5 months.
Okay.
And but anyhow, as far as experiences go, it's just there's things are just like shown to you, like if you're watching a movie, it's like you see what's going to happen, and then like a year or two later it happens. My stepmom knows of these things because I shared that with her at the time. An ex-boyfriend of mine who has since passed, also, he used to get freaked out because I would tell him, and he would just tell me, I don't want to hear about anything else. I don't want to hear about anything.
Right.
But you can't deny what the truth is. You know, when you deny, that means there's fear. I don't fear anything. And they never showed me that I needed to fear them, because I wasn't. And there was one aspect of my experiences that, I mean, I was never even able to tell my family, because my family was not one that could talk to, and, you know, my mom was not one you could approach with anything. My sisters, okay. I was always considered a black sheep because I was considered different. And I kind of get that now. But, the fact that, I just had a blackout here. That like I said, everything's full circle. I lost track of where I was at right now.
Okay, no problem. So the different communications that you've had in the past, with different, and you said you had some communications with different beings. How many different types of beings do you think are out there, and you know, what kind of things are they communicating? You know, are they telling us to be to awaken? And you know, I know that they're working on hybrids and things like that, but what exactly do they want from humanity? What are they trying to tell us?
Well, to be honest with you, and like I said, I'm not trying to get anybody to believe as I do, but it just makes sense that if you look throughout creation, down through the periods of time which they call evolution, each time it's changed. The persona, the attitudes, the things that's known seems to advance. Well, where do we advance from here? I mean, and I believe that I don't believe that we were created from monkeys or apes, whatever.
Right.
I've never bought that, because if that was the case, that would be non-existent. That animal would not be existing right now. Right. That's just ridiculous. So, you know, whoever come up with that cock and bull, you know, that's theirs. But
well, those are the lies. Those are the lies that we've been taught to try and believe because they didn't want to tell us anything. They didn't want us to know anything, and
that's because they would have to write all of history.
All of it.
Not only would they have to write all of history, religion would be down the tubes.
Yeah. That's a big one.
And I'm just talking frankly, I'm sorry.
No, you should. I want you. That's our whole point. So you're fine. You're okay.
Yeah, everything that we know, we can disregard because we really don't know anything. And that is what they want us to do, is awaken and understand. You know, and I guess that's my thing. I do understand that, you know, when we die, we just don't get buried in the ground and that's over. You know, we have an energy, a spirit in us that doesn't die. I mean, a good example is if, you know, electricity, we came from one energy. How that energy got started, we don't know. That's still a mystery. Your household electricity, you have one fuse box. That fuse box connects to the whole entire house. That electricity is the same throughout the entire house, no matter what plug you use. That's the same as us, as an example.
Okay.
But where I remember where I was going at, I was approached from a group member from one of the UFO groups that I was in, and a gentleman contacted me, as you did, and said that he wanted to tell me about his experience. Well, his experience, being at our background, is similar, as well as there was one point in our life that our experiences that we never shared with no one, not our closest family member, which I couldn't tell mine anything, or our closest friend. And it was funny because at that moment we're both texting exactly word for word the exact same thing, the exact same reason why, and exactly why we never did.
Okay, that's interesting.
That being, and I'll tell you what it was, is the fact that we were allowed, I was allowed as well as he was allowed to sit right up front at the control panel with the others as a crew member.
Okay.
You're not going to read that in any book. And when I heard this from somebody else, and I shared that with somebody else, that freaked me out. Because that was something I always held special, and so did he. He never told anybody for the exact same damn reason.
Okay. So what does this control panel look like, and how does it work? Do you know anything about it?
No, I don't know how it works or anything. I was just sitting there. I would always just be amazed at how fast we could go without crashing into anything. A good example of what it looks like is on the computers you have like things like just like Star Wars, how fast they can go through space without hitting anything. That's exactly what the hell it looks like. But nobody, I mean, I didn't look at them any differently, and they didn't look at me at any differently. And the same thing, the guy said the same thing. But we held that to ourselves for the same reason, and he even said, there's a good chance that we were on the same craft, or with the same beings allowed to do the same thing. I also have a recall of standing next to the control panel, looking at the others, as we're going through space. I'm not being affected by how fast we're going as I'm standing there talking with communicating. And at one point I told him that I wanted to touch his skin, so I would, and I did that. I'm surprised I didn't have any sick effect afterwards, but I was interested in that, and it was allowed.
Interesting.
I mean, I wasn't afraid at all.
Okay. So how did they take that? And what could you tell me about the skin texture and the feel?
To be honest with you, I can only say that it probably felt like a rough skin, nothing like smooth like ours, but just probably a rougher skin. I don't have a recall on that. I just remember, mentally, asking to touch their skin or, whatever, and was allowed to. There was no problem or nothing was held back.
When you talk about the speeds that this craft was traveling, what kind of speeds are we talking about?
We don't move that fast. We can't do it.
So are you talking hyper speeds, faster than light?
To the point to where you could barely see the, little things going past you so fast. Yeah, so we're moving. But my body's not being affected.
Right. Okay, so where are you traveling to and from?
That I can't tell you that. I don't even know.
Okay.
I don't even know. Like I said, I can only, and honestly, I cherish the memories and the recall that I have. And that's exactly why I share it, because some people, a lot of people think that they just have dreams, that it's just a dream. Well, it may seem like a dream because it's a less evasive way of actually admitting or having it as a reality.
Okay, I understand that.
So everything's dreamlike, and that's just like a lot of people will say the same thing as like if a dead person, a dead relative came to them, in their dream. It's going to be less evasive that way than if they approached them in the spirit-like state that they're already in, knowing that they would be more fearful that way.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay.
I think so many more people. I think, number one, I don't think that we really have a clue as to the number of people that have actually either had experience, had contact, have seen, because so many people are not going to come forward. And not only that, but I'm going to put it out there that this is a family generational thing. This is a family generational issue. Not everybody in the family is going to have this experience or going to go or be affected by this. It's only going to be certain ones that are chosen.
And why?
Tell you.
And why is that?
Because it's easier to keep track.
Okay.
And we don't know, and I'm just, going to say, we don't know that this wasn't done over and over again through reincarnations either. At being, how do I put it? Accepting or, agreeing to do this. Does that make sense?
Sure, I understand.
That's the best way I can put that. But it is a generational thing. This is something generational. Not everybody's going to talk about it. Not everybody's going to admit to it. But this is a generational thing. A family generational thing. This is for sure. Because it's an easier way of keeping track of certain genes.
Okay, so it is genetically a genetic type of modification.
I would say that, yes.
Okay.
You have better words for that than I do. I'm simple.
No, that's okay. You know what? It's been great talking to you today, and I appreciate everything that we discussed. And we're going to let our audience, hear this interview. And is there any last thing you'd like to say to the audience when we put this out there that will help them to awaken themselves?
Yeah, don't be in denial. If you feel that you can't talk to a family member or the best thing that I've even suggested is find a good UFO group and get into, because they will help you, and if they can't help you, they can refer you to somebody that can help you understand, or will at least listen to you, to not think that you're crazy, or because I went through that, and that's exactly why I started my own group as well, because I went through pure hell with UFO groups being called every name in the book, and yeah, or they could get a hold of you, but you know, if you're not comfortable talking with family members or friends, go under an alias. You know, let somebody know. They can contact me. They can contact other UFO. Like I said, look for a good UFO group. Feel them out first.
Yeah, that's good. That's good advice. Well, Kim, why don't you plug your group while you're on here, and let the audience know what your group is, so that they have somebody like yourself that they can speak to.
Well, they can go to my group's called Not So Paranormal, for the simple reason everything is labeled paranormal that can't be explained. And if not, they can contact me, Kimberly O'Connor at gmail.com.
Okay.
And I can, you know, if I can't help you, I will send them your way or somebody else's way that can help them, because that's exactly what I've been doing.
That would be great, and we would appreciate that as well. Okay, it's been great talking to you, and we will stay in touch, and we will do another interview.
Great. Thanks for talking to you, son.
Thank you. Great talking to you. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.